Hello, Footballer Nation, and welcome to the greatest rising podcast in football. My name is Carson, and I am a Battlehawksaholic.
I'm Alex, and I'm a Panthersaholic, not to be confused with Carolina.
I'm Ian, and I'm a Brahmasaholic, not to be confused with Canada.
To hear more about the first week of the UFL season, make sure to stick around for the rest of the episode. But first, we gotta roll that intro. Hello, Footballer Nation, and welcome to Footballers Anonymous After Hours, the only massive podcast in football that covers the entire UFL. It's true. Don't look up anyone else. Just trust us.
Yeah, he's right. If you even try to look up anyone else, it'll just show us. Because we just kind of dominate the industry right now.
It's true. Not to brag or anything. So
Not to brag at all. We're extremely humble, extremely modest.
So starting out, we are going to start one of the classic segments on Footballers Anonymous. We asked you to ask us questions, and we answered them. So, going to our questions, we received one question on our official polls today, and it is by someone by the name of 1ANWKINS. I can't say I know who that is, but it sounds pretty legit. It asks, what does UFL stand for?
Oh, that's simple.
It stands for the United Football League because we here at Footballers Anonymous value how united they are in bringing us good football.
It's
Well said.
true.
Extremely well said.
And what about NFL? Well, NFL stands for No Fun League, as most people know.
Nah,
Exactly.
it actually stands for National Football League, but Carson's also correct.
And the
It
third,
really is the No Fun League.
it really is. And the third part says, and what about Ian and Carson and Alex? Well, I mean, as for Carson, can I really say, or no? I don't know.
See why not.
Okay, well, that's what it stands for.
Automated, lying, extremities, X-ray.
X-ray. That's good.
Ian stands for Intelligently Artificial No.
Shut
Wow,
up.
intelligently artificial no, because we
Shut
don't
up.
have artificial intelligence here
Hey,
on Footballers Anonymous.
Shut up.
Yep.
Hey, you don't get to tell anyone no.
It's
Too
true.
I
We
mean,
also have a
okay.
second question.
Did Carson really say or not?
We also have a second question, and this one comes from YouTube. It's not an official question, but it's on one of our videos, and I thought I would highlight it. We're gonna get into some more comments later. We have a lot of very intense comments going on with our draft videos. Lots of people are very opinionated, but I thought I would shout out Adam Lane, who on our most recent, as of right now, video on how the Carolina Panthers can win the draft, asks, are you high? My response is no. I just have a brain. But if that makes me high, then
Wait.
To give you a real answer
Let me
to
see
that question,
this.
it's actually yes. Carson is
I haven't seen
high
this comments.
on a little sweet something called life.
it's true. I am high on life and the return of football. What can I say?
How could you not be? How
No,
could you-
I might have to pull an audible here.
It's got to pull an
I
audible.
had something else for comment of the week, but this might take the cake.
Really?
And I hadn't seen this one.
I don't-
Why not
there's-
do a double, why not do a double feature?
This is
I was
true.
gonna say we have like so many comments for once.
This is also true. In fact, I need to look.
Here,
for that
wait, I
comment.
can. Yeah, you know which one you gotta do. You responded to it with an essay.
This is true. This is true.
You gotta do it.
Oh, which video was that?
That was the Titans video, I believe.
Yeah, that is a very long comment.
Hey, man, we got time.
All right. Well, the other comment that'll be featured on the comment of the week segment for Footballers Anonymous is from JS344. You must not have watched Cam's Pro Day. A trade back would only be good for a king's ransom, which we will not get. Ridiculous to think trotting Billy Jeans out next season as starting quarterback is ridiculous. You definitely did not watch last season to say the words Will Levis and serviceable in the same sentence. Half of those sacks that the line was attributed for was on Levis himself. A good O-line will not help the walking meme. Start a new channel with a different following. No one wants to hear your draft advice after that. First of all, plenty of people have liked to hear our draft advice. Second of all, you're the Titans, so no matter who you trot out at starting quarterback, it's not really going to make a difference. Number 3, Will Levis got an arm. Just because he makes terrible decisions doesn't mean he's not serviceable. Jameis Winston is obviously Jameis Winston's better than Will Levis, but like Jameis Winston, you can still call him serviceable, and he'll throw 3 picks in the game at times. Number 4, every quarterback is good on their pro day. There hasn't been a quarterback that has lost draft stock on a pro day since Teddy Bridgewater in 2014. Pro days are supposed to make the quarterback look good. We're not saying Cam Ward looks bad. We're just saying that it's possible he doesn't go number 1. Number 5, the Billie Jeans thing was pretty funny.
That was pretty gas. Also, shout out to the internet for only watching the video where I hate on Cam Ward, and then literally the next video about the Browns where I say, yeah, no, I think the Browns would do well with Cam Ward. I think he would succeed there. No one watched it, so you know.
That's like the only video we put up that didn't get views was the Browns.
It's true.
I mean, it is the Browns, so I don't blame them,
but still, you know. So just I did give Cam Ward some props. It's just no one liked it, so I guess I'm not alone in my opinions, or I don't know.
Speaking of college takes, we have a couple college things to talk about, so it's up to y'all which one y'all want to talk about first.
I don't know. One of them's making me kind of mad, so
I'll talk about that one. March Madness brackets.
Get it?
Oh, because you said they make you mad. Wow, what a creative mastermind over here.
I know.
So March Madness brackets. March Madness has been a little bit boring in terms of like who's winning. Like not as a bad thing, but when all the one seeds are in the Final Four, it makes it very easy to like, you know, like the bold picks aren't really going for anyone because none of the bold picks are going. But in terms of our competition against each other, we've hit the Final Four, and actually it was halfway through the Elite Eight where it was already over. Carson, with his great BYU and Yale prediction, is now left remaining with 0 points remaining. He's sitting at 70 points. Me and Ian had the same champion, but I'm up 27 points on him and have more points remaining. It is statistically impossible for Ian to pass me. So I already won. GG's.
For the record, Alex was boring and chose all the 1 seeds to make it.
I did not choose all the 1 seeds, actually. I chose Kentucky. To my
arguably the worst 1 seed to shaft. He shafted.
I disagree with that.
Listen, at the end of the day, I had fun with it. I made some fun calls.
I did too.
Rooted for Omaha, who I never thought I would, and they proved me wrong 17 times over in one game. But otherwise, some picks almost went my way, some picks didn't. That's the case for all of us. It was a fun experience, and yeah. Tell us how your guys' brackets went. Drop in the comments how your guys' brackets went.
Yeah.
I think I'll pay more time.
We want to know how we stacked up compared to y'all.
It was a pretty fun experience overall. Can't even say I'm too upset about that BYU game, judging by how we went up against literally the greatest shooting game in NCAA tournament history. So I can't like be upset that they lost to that. They could have lost first round of ECU, in which case I would have just died inside. But so honestly, it's all good. If I were really trying to get the most amount of points, probably would have changed a couple things up. But, you know, for Footballers Anonymous, we like to keep you on your toes. So we thought we'd have some madness and March Madness, if you will.
Picking a little bit more bold next year. I low-key didn't know what I was doing, so I was like, yeah, some of the 1 seeds are gonna be good. I didn't pick one of them, but I think a lot of my picks before the 1 seeds were actually pretty. Like I actually did pretty good in terms of like picking upsets.
I do have to say, I unironically got the Midwest completely perfect, except for one single game. Because I had Clemson beating McNeese. But literally every single other game I got correct. And it was the only thing keeping me in the tournament for as long as I was in it, was the fact that I got the Midwest almost entirely perfect, which was just so random, but also
I almost had I was 3 points away from having the entire Elite Eight on the left-hand side of the bracket, correct? Because I had Auburn, I had Florida, I had Texas Tech, and I had Ole Miss over Michigan State in my bracket. I had Ole Miss, and they lost by 3. I was very upset about that.
I mean,
I
yeah.
was called crazy for my Gonzaga over Houston pick, but they lost in the final seconds of that game.
I really
So,
should have won. Well, not should have, but they really,
Really
could
shouldn't
have
have.
won.
Houston won. That's
they
all that
really
matters in
could've.
the end.
Houston,
They could have.
Houston was not the worst team to shaft, very evidently. They've
They
had
had a
some
close game, but
ones.
they're still doing it.
Duke also
Well,
barely
every
beat
one
Arizona.
seed's doing it, so
Yeah, that's true.
I think
I still
I
stand
really
by my
think the
take.
worst one seed this shaft would have been Auburn.
Agree to disagree. Big 12 supremacy.
Well, we don't know a ton about college basketball, but Carson's got his college knowledge.
Yeah, you know what we are super knowledgeable about the draft. We're getting into the extension of Carson's college knowledge, Carson's stock talk. Not a whole lot has been happening. But there have been a lot of school pro days. We talked about Cam Ward's last week. This week, Ashton Genty had his. We saw the Ohio State pro day. A lot of people looked pretty good coming out of there. And we had Virginia Tech's pro day this week as well. And quarterback Colin Schlee actually put up some very good numbers. And of course, running back Bayshal Tootin only continued to improve his draft stock. Probably going second round, I would say. Hopefully. We had Florida. Florida had their pro day this week, and we met defensive tackle Desmond Watson, who will be, when drafted into the NFL, will be the heaviest player in NFL history. He will come into the league at 6'6" and 464 pounds. He ran a 5.93 on the 40-yard dash, jumped a 22-inch vert, and performed 36 bench press reps, which would have been the most out of everyone at the combine. The Steelers have shown interest in quarterback Jalen Milroe and may even draft him in the first round, according to sources. And many people believe that Louisville's quarterback Tyler Show will have the most success early on in the NFL after Cam Ward. And NFL teams still think Ashton Genty is one of the cleanest prospects in the draft. I mean, I agree. It's pretty straightforward. But yeah, that's all of your Carson's stock talk. But if you want to know who your team should draft in the 2025 NFL draft, make sure to follow all of our social channels so you can get one video every day for each team until my full mock draft episode a couple days before the draft. So make sure you're following all of our social channels, our Instagram, our YouTube, our TikTok. We are there. We are also on Facebook, where we only post Minion memes. So, check that out too.
One or two. There's like 1 or 2 Minion memes, but the channel, the Facebook exists.
It does exist. Make sure if you guys start following the Facebook, then we'll put more Minion memes there.
How many followers do we have? Do we even have followers on the Facebook? This is gonna be a live check-in.
A live check-in on the Facebook.
Yeah.
I should mention, we are hitting close to that 100 follower mark on Instagram. We are currently at 73. We have hit our 100 subscriber goal, but we would love to hit the 100 followers, so we know that you guys are getting all the information when you need it. So make sure you're following our Instagram. Go ahead and follow our TikTok. We're getting a lot of engagement over there. If you want to engage with Footballer Nation, I would say right now TikTok is the best place to be. Comments in the videos are pretty active. Lots of good conversation happens. And if you want Minion memes, follow our Facebook.
I don't think we have any Facebook followers.
Guys, who is going to be the first Facebook follower?
Who's gonna be the first Facebook follower? Oh, it's so scuffed.
Does that include us? Are we not following?
No.
Oh,
I don't know how to check, but like I don't think there's any.
That's
it's a little
crazy
different
work.
than it's a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
different than Instagram. I don't know where to check that stuff. Friends tab? Your friends. No friends.
No friends.
No
Wow.
friends.
That about sums us up, doesn't it?
All right.
Nah, because we have Footballer Nation. We love
Not only
Footballer
that.
Nation.
We got Footballer Nation and we got you Footballer Nation, like the
And-
UFL.
Don't forget, we also have Steve. And Steve, you're going to get a girl one day, okay? You just got to lock in, get your ball knowledge up with Footballers Anonymous.
Maybe don't go up to a girl and be like, I am Steve.
Maybe, and hear me out. on this one. Go buy some great Footballers Anonymous merch and surprise her with a gift.
Oh, you know where to get that?
Shout.
Footballers Anonymous -fourth wall -store.
Make a little shop
If
right
you
here.
missed our awesome ad break last time, that was definitely not AI. You should go check that out.
Another thing you've heard is the beautiful Footballers Anonymous t-shirt. This is the violet colorway. Probably look great on her. You know it would. We know it would. So go ahead, go copy your merch now. Be awesome. Be drippy. Be cool. Be clean.
We do have to give a shout out to the second member of the Footballers Anonymous VIP Club, Mr. Andrew Baird, who did purchase his merch from the merch store. He is the second of our 5 spots in the VIP Club. He bought the amazingly high quality Footballers Anonymous coaster.
Very
So,
surprisingly high quality.
like surprisingly high quality. Like, wow. It's really nice and very well priced. So there are now 3 spots remaining in the Footballers Anonymous VIP Club. So if you want to be part of the VIP Club, make sure to get your merch quickly because those spots are filling. And remember, even after those first 5 who get the video shoutouts, the first 50 supporters will get their names listed at the end of the video. So, if you want to be part of the Footballers Anonymous VIP Club or just support Footballer Nation a little bit, make sure to check out the merch store. But now, ladies and gentlemen, what you've all come here for, we got to talk about the UFL.
I think I'll start with this first one right here. The Brahmas played the Arlington Renegades this week. It was a very fun showing. We'll get more into that later. But a very important piece of information that came from that game is that the longest UFL rush was broken in back-to-back games. It was first broken by Carson's St. Louis Battlehawks with a 74-yard touchdown run by Javon Howard. And then immediately the next day, against the Brahmas, Kalen Balaj of the Renegades had a 77-yard touchdown. It hurt to watch, but it happened, and it was historical.
We're watching history.
Beer Snake, DC's Beer Snake returned. I think that's pretty good news. Another thing I want to comment on, the look into the play calling, the referee work, the chip in the ball, basically all the things that the UFL is doing better than the NFL in terms of getting the viewers actually more informed. Still doing great. They did a very good job with all the procedures. It was a great experience to watch the UFL games. The UFL, a couple of the UFL games weren't particularly close this week, but the general idea of like having the viewers more involved and giving them more information as well as some extra camera angles, the chip in the ball for placement, all that stuff is great. And hopefully there'll be some closer games in week 2. We have both of the championship games their rematches upcoming in week 2. I'm talking about the USFL championship game and the XFL championship game.
This is true.
So those will be exciting.
All of which are involving our teams.
This is true because all 3 of our teams were in those championship games last year.
And none of them won at all.
Spoiler alert, because I think this is guessable. One of those 2 games will be our game of the week. Stay tuned to find out which one.
We know you guys missed game of the week, so we had to bring it back just for you. One thing I wanted to bring up. Sorry. One thing I wanted to bring up before we get into our baddies. Was actually just I feel like we could just you briefly mentioned just the experience, like what viewership of the games is like. I feel like we can get into that a little bit more. In my personal opinion, I thought watching the UFL games, it's less of because when you watch those games, there's obviously something missing from something like college football or the NFL or something like that because the stadiums are pretty empty. Not a lot of people are there. It feels like COVID NFL kind of. But I personally think the UFL was cool for less about the culture and more for just like love of the game. If you love football, the UFL is just so cool with how transparent they are, and they're not perfect. There are some rules that they've put in that don't work, like the whole kicks bouncing out of bounds automatically puts them at the 25 on punts. That's stupid. It should not be a thing. But overall, it's a really cool viewing experience, and it's a really good way to learn about football. If you don't know football, and if you do know football, it's a really cool way to just look and see how a proper league works. I think it's pretty cool. I don't know if anyone else has any other thoughts, but
Can't have rigging allegations in the UFL.
true.
It's just a fun experience. The biggest thing being the look into the game, getting more depth, getting more perception about it. It's a fun experience, especially for people who do know football. Like I said, if you don't know football, it's a great place to learn. But even if you do know football, it's a great place to learn more as well. And there's just so much to see, so much to learn, so much that changes from day to day. It's a cool experience.
All right, guys, I think we've held off long enough. We know you guys want your baddies. So, we are going to get into our first in-season UFL power rankings. For those of you who don't know, every week we make our own lists of power rankings, and we then kind of average them together using math, which is a thing, to get a group power ranking system. Occasionally, you may have ties. We don't have ties because we were all pretty aligned on what we thought. There's only 8 teams, which makes it a lot easier. But if there are, we discuss the 2 teams and eventually decide which one we think takes the higher spot. In the UFL season, there are 2 baddies awarded every week. The 7th and 8th spots in the power rankings. Number 7 is the baddie, and number 8 is the ultra baddie. So first, we're going to get into our baddie. At number 7, we have the Memphis Showboats that we need to talk about.
I don't think there's any need to
We
talk
have
about
to
them
talk
at all.
about them. I don't think I want to talk about them.
There's not much to say.
No.
I
We
don't think
don't.
we
We
really
don't.
showed a lot
We
this
don't.
week.
We don't need to talk about them here at Footballers Anonymous.
But we have to be ownershipable.
This is
Okay,
true.
Here's some ownership. They lost to the Panthers 12-26.
No, I will say-
That's all we need to know.
I
was
will
right on
say-
that. The game was closer
Mhm.
than the score indicates. There was a pick 6 towards the very end of the game.
It was
Now,
a pick 6 to
still a s-
close.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean,
Yeah.
it was, but still a skill issue, but on the parts of the Showboats.
I mean, the Showboats were driving before that pick 6. They were driving. They were pretty close. It looked like it could have been a massive upset for Memphis, but unfortunately, they're just...
They play DC next week. I could see that going either way. They honestly didn't play bad versus Michigan, but we are hating a little bit, so we got to keep them in our baddie spot until they win.
This is true. But their performance was at least good enough to be passable and get them out of the ultra baddie spot that is now inhabited by the Houston Roughnecks, really showing off their grit and hard work. Live on Footballers Anonymous too. That is embarrassing. Can you imagine your team getting blown out on Footballers Anonymous live? Could not relate.
Many
They even
eyes
made
to
it.
see.
The score indicates it was closer than it was for actually a handful of reasons. Besides the fact that they scored their 6 in garbage time after the Battlehawks scored 31. The Battlehawks were also struggling to finish the job versus Houston. That really could have been like a 40-something point. 40-something.
There were
nothing
so
game
many
if-
missed points just on
Wide
conversions
receiver
by
play.
St. Louis.
For Houston, the 2020 fan attendance average for Houston was 19,000. This game only saw 7,124, which, on one hand, 7,000 people is kind of good, but down 12,000 from your 2020 average doesn't look the best. It's not the best look, especially after you get dominated like that. That number's probably going to go down next week.
I mean, 19,000 people is already not a whole lot. And tickets are pretty cheap for UFL games because it's still fairly new. So even though, I mean, they're an extreme case because they're just a really bad team, it's not good for the NFL to see drops in attendance like that. So make sure you watch, just turn on the games and just watch. Show your support so we can keep spring leagues like this alive, because there's been a curse around them for a long time, but we love the UFL and want it to stay. Okay, getting into the regular power rankings. We'll start with some of our more okay teams. A team narrowly missing the baddies, probably just because we hate on the Showboats. We have, at number 6, the San Antonio Brahmas, who lost versus Arlington 9-33.
I'll take care of this. Yes, we lost Arlington 9-33. Yes, I was shocked. Yes, I fell asleep in the third quarter and took a nap and had a silly little dream. But I don't know. I'll just say I have an affinity with poorly performing team. But
No.
all things considered, here's some good notes from this game, or at least one big one. Destroying Donald De La Haye made his first official field goal since high school. Then his second kind of went off the rocker, but it's okay. He smiled
His
and laughed it
first
off.
one wasn't
It was
even
still
good.
good. Hey, a good field goal is a good field goal. Doesn't matter how it goes through as long as it goes through. So saying it wasn't good when it was good doesn't really make sense. And then Kellen Mond was playing a pretty decent game to start. Then he had a pretty bad lateral attempt, and he proceeded to not play his best directly after Carson said in our group chat, "Ian, I'm liking Mond here." Almost 2 seconds later, I even said, like, I don't know, he's kind of missing some throws. And then he just kind of dropped it at the end there. He didn't do horrible per se, but it wasn't at all what me and Carson expected out of him.
Mm-mm.
That's pretty much all there is to say this week. We're looking forward to next week. We're hoping things are going to go a lot better. We're going to be a lot more organized, I'm hoping. But we'll just have to see.
Maybe, and I'm thinking about this now. Maybe your Bears. Sorry, I mean your Brahmas hat is just bad luck for the Brahmas because
No,
they're performing like the Bears right now.
Me
I don't know why
personally,
that would
I
be the
think
case. It has nothing to do with the Bears.
I think, and if you go online, people agree with me. I don't think Destroying belongs on that team.
He definitely does. He definitely does.
He has
Week one's
not kicked
week
an
one.
actual kick since high school, and I know he
Week
makes all
one.
his videos, and they're all really cool. That whole
Week one.
88-yarder was ridiculous.
Week one is hard for everybody. If you don't think Destroying belongs in the Brahmas, Hakeem Butler doesn't belong on the Battlehawks.
Because he
As simple as that.
got targeted twice, and yes, there were the two
As
incompletions.
a,
That's no excuse
as
for the awful performance, especially as a kicker. As a kicker,
he
if
missed,
that's your week one
he
performance,
shanked
you're
one
out.
field goal. He shanked one field goal wide left.
You got pretty close with that
Hakeem,
other one.
it was good. That's all that mattered.
It's
Hakeem
not,
Butler
though, when
ran
you
beam.
have plenty of other kickers on the
I'll
team that
come
can
back
do
to Butler.
better.
I'll come back to Butler.
At number 5 in the power rankings, we have the Birmingham Stallions. Falling a little bit from grace, having a little bit of a championship hangover. They did the 3-peat, unlike Kansas City, but the 4-peat journey looking rough to start.
We'll always appreciate Birmingham for doing that, by the way. Especially when we were scared Kansas City was going to three-peat, we'll always appreciate Birmingham for doing it first. So, they do get a little bit of love from Footballers Anonymous in this troubling time. But in a shocking move, the Stallions started Alex Mago over Matt Corral, which I thought Matt Corral was just kind of like a lock at quarterback, but apparently not. And Mago went 10 for 23 for 89 passing yards, only one touchdown and one interception.
Might want to go back and start Coral again.
Now,
They even put
granted,
Coral in the game.
I don't think they did. At least not when I checked the stats. I will say their offensive line was looking like the Bears. It was bad. I think he took like 3 sacks in a row to close the game. It was awful. It was so I won't place all the blame on Go, but kind of wondering what the decision was there.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure with all that. It's definitely interesting. I hope they start Coral next week. I don't know if they will, but I think it's gonna be a tough. Actually, no. Wait till week 3 to start Coral. You should start Alex McGowan versus the Panthers, and then start Coral.
Of course.
Speaking of their offensive line, at number 4 we have the Defenders, who recorded 8 sacks in the game versus Birmingham. That we kind of still have to see if it's more telling of the Birmingham offensive line or the Defenders defensive line. But if that's telling of the Defenders defensive line, they're gonna be a scary team.
That was an incredible performance. Jordan Ta'amu, who I did mention in our kickoff episode that he was going to be one of the quarterbacks to keep an eye on. He definitely had a day of days. He went 17 for 37, which sounds pretty rough, but he still passed for 211 yards and had 1 touchdown and an interception. He had some really, really good moments in that game and some really, really bad ones. Not sure what we're gonna see more of, but I think if he can clean that up, and if that defensive line is, like Alex said, as good as it is, the Defenders are gonna be a scary team.
I mean, it's kind of in their name to have a good defense.
This is true.
The Defenders' interim head coach Shannon Harris had some beef with Birmingham head coach Skip Holtz. He was yelling at him after the game to get off my field. You told me I was a doorman. So now he has the nickname Dynasty Doorman.
which is awesome, by the way. That was really funny to see live because no one really knew what was happening. They were walking up for the like handshakes and whatnot, and Shannon Harris was not having it. He was just screaming at him, and eventually, and like they weren't both mic'd up, so everyone could hear everything they were saying. And then a reporter comes up to him and he goes, why are you so heated up? What's going on here? And he just goes, yeah, it's personal. Like he didn't already yell to the world what's going on. So yeah, he's now the dynasty doorman because he knocked on Birmingham's door and kicked it down. Coming in at number sorry.
Maybe they got the whole Jim Harbaugh, Pete Carroll thing going on, except UFL terms.
Oh, I mean, you never know. We don't know how long he's gonna stick around, so we'll see. Hopefully, he gets the head coaching job because he did an incredible job just as interim head coach. That's the thing too. They beat these guys with an interim head coach who was appointed like days before the game. Crazy by the defenders.
We could be sleeping on them.
Coming in at number 3, we have the Arlington Renegades, who were probably the biggest surprise out of all the teams. We kind of counted them out, but Luis Perez, Mr. Spring, showed up. He went 20 for 25 and passed for 164 yards and an interception. But he was looking really good against the Brahmas.
The interception came very early on in the game, and you could tell he quickly ironed it out. He quickly reset. He quickly went back to what was working for him, and he was near perfect for the rest of it.
I think the Renegades are going to be a contender. I kind of counted them out, but I'm very glad to see we were at least surprised by someone. I guess we were surprised by the defenders too, but I think the Renegades was really the big wow. The trick is to see whether that sticks or if it was just week 1. All right, coming in at number 2, Alex. Oh, sorry.
It's the Michigan Panthers atop the UFL conference, the only UFL team. Sorry. I thought the USFL conference, the only USFL team to win this week, beating Memphis 26-12. Both Nakua brothers scored touchdowns. One had a receiving touchdown. The other had a pick 6 at the very end of the game. Bryce Perkins hurdled in this game as well. He had our quarterback, he hurdled some last year, and he's bringing that into 2025, so that's pretty fun. It was a little bit scary for a moment in this game, but we got the job done. It was a good overall game. Not too much else to say, honestly. We play Birmingham next week, so I'm excited for that one.
And of course, coming in at number 1 on Footballers Anonymous live, ladies and gentlemen, I am now 2-0 when Footballers Anonymous is live. We have the St. Louis Battlehawks. Starting off, we got a nice little surprise because Manny Wilkins Jr. was starting over Max Duggan. It took me like 2 quarters to remember his name, but he looked very good despite the receiver play being not very good. He looked really good. He went 17 for 22, had 189 yards and 2 touchdowns, both rushing. He was very effective on his legs, and not only was he very effective on his legs, but Jacob Sailors and Jarvion Howard had a game rushing for a total team 273 rushing yards for St. Louis. Before Ian says anything, Hakeem Butler, yeah, he was very disappointing, extremely disappointing. I hated his play, especially, I mean, I'll let Ian break down the one play he was really upset about. I hated it. I will say he's a very effective blocker, and we did see that a lot. I was very happy with that at the beginning of the game, but when he got into I'm pretty sure 4 of the 5 incompletions were to Hakeem Butler. I can check that, but I'm pretty sure they were, and that is upsetting, especially with Andy Isabella off the team. I know St. Louis fans did not really like him, except for me. So now, Butler needs to take a bigger role with Mims. Mims had a very good catch, too. He looked good. He needs to take a bigger role, and not gonna lie, I was very concerned. Hoping it was just week 1, but it was kind of disgusting.
The biggest thing for me, and I said this on stream, I said this to Carson. Carson's right, his blocking was very effective. I mean, he's a big body receiver. It should be. But there's one specific play, goal line fade. Might be one of the most disgusting goal line fades I've ever seen. I said this on stream, I said this off stream, I said it before. It was sickening to me as a receiver. He somehow got a flag out of it. I can understand the angle they came from. I can understand why it was a flag, but I think it was a soft call. I don't think it should have been a flag. It was just gross. I don't think Carson is right. Like, he just needs to fill that role. He needs to fill his role. He's a big body receiver. He's on the outside. He's expected to have make plays like that, and it is supposed. I'm assuming it is a week one thing. I'm gonna compare it to MHJ very early on the season. MHJ was slow. He had a very what was it? Was it his first game that he was very poor? Was it
It wasn't that he was. Yeah, it was. Well, so
just
it was his
dropping
first game. He was super
incompletion?
poor, and then he went off against the Rams week 2.
So it was MHJ had a big share of the incompletions from Murray were to MHJ.
Yes.
I was going to kind of compare it to that situation here. A lot of, or like Gar said, he thinks it was 4 of the 5 of Wilkins' incompletion were to Butler. So we just got to hope that he shades out. I personally didn't really, couldn't really get a read on his attitude throughout the game. When the cameras were on him, he was very
No.
one-dimensional, which could be a good thing. We didn't see anything bad out of him. But just it really was just for me that one route. It just sickened me and
I
made me
mean,
very upset watching it.
he's a veteran, so you like the one-dimensional thing. I imagine he's not letting it get in his head too much, which is good. And he has been an incredible receiver for the Battlehawks. Last season he was amazing. So we're just kind of looking for that again. I'm kind of just I assume he had a rough week 1, hoping things shape out, hoping to see more Mims too, because I liked Denzel Mims a lot. And the running game just came out of nowhere. I didn't know that was going to be a thing that was so good, but it was. I'm hoping to see more of it. So the St.
How
Louis
many rushing
Battlehawks.
yards did how many rushing yards did Manny have?
Manny?
He
Let
had
me
a fair
check.
share of his own, didn't he?
He did. It's gonna take a minute because finding stats for the UFL is a little annoying. You can only find them on the Fox website, and they're kind of weird. But going into the Roughnecks game, box score, rushing. I guess I have to go to the other store. Battlehawks. There we go. Rushing. Manny Wilkins had 43 rushing yards of his own on 8 attempts. So yeah, he had his fair share, and both his touchdowns were rushing as well.
He
So
had some very good outside of the pocket presence. That was great to see. I think Manny Wilkins is making a very early campaign for league MVP. And honestly, I could see the Battlehawks. If the Battlehawks continue this type of play, especially in the quarterback position and the running back position, I could see them making a championship run.
absolutely.
Just iron out that receiving game. Sign
So
me.
no, yeah.
Sign me.
Sign
me.
Ian, please. Sign Ian.
Why not?
I'd be down.
Why not?
While
Right?
we're at it, I want to talk about some attendance for the 4 games that we saw present. First of all, not having home opener in St. Louis is absolutely obscene when they are like
I
happier.
know.
They're like over half of the average 2024 average in terms of attendance. They had 34,000 fans on average. The second closest was DC with 14,000 in 2024. The Defenders game, the average in 2024 was 14,143. They only got 12,254. Will say there was a Washington Capitals game at like the same time, and they're really good this year, so that could have also been part of the issue with that, and it's not that much lower. Arlington actually went up from their average in 2024, not by much, but by 2.3%. Houston, their 2020 average was 19,000, but in terms of comparatively to last year, it actually went up by 1%, 7,056 to 7,124. The actual big concern is in Memphis, which they only had 4,373 fans at that game, which is
Wow.
even worse when you consider that Memphis was one of the biggest marketing points for the UFL. Like I know when they came into the USFL and like with all that, like they were pretty heavily advertised. And they actually tried to push for people to go to Memphis games. I think part of their issue is that they are every season for them has been pretty bad.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's only so much you can do.
I mean, these
when
kinds of things are serious issues. Like a big part of what makes the NFL so successful is the culture and the fact that you're getting 60 to 100,000 fans at any given game. Electric atmospheres all over the NFL. It's what makes it so exciting.
I'll even say though, like, well, part of the 4 teams that didn't host this week have a lot better attendance scores than the 4 teams that did.
True.
Honestly, though, the numbers are not that bad for like. I mean, they're still trying to build the
Yes.
reputation trying to build the league. Memphis might need to relocate. The rest, I mean, you can argue that the Houston numbers are a little on the low side, but like they're also kind of bad.
I mean, you also have
So-
3 Texas teams, so like
That's another thing. I kind of disagree with that from the start. I don't think 3 Texas teams is particularly
I imagine
helpful.
in the expansions, one of them is going to move. At least one.
I'm
if not
assuming it'll
2.
be Houston because
I agree.
San Antonio's got their destroying stuff, and Arlington has
Mhm.
won a championship. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
So to recap the power rankings, you have at Ultra Baddie, the Houston Roughnecks. At Regular Baddie, the Memphis Showboats. Number 6, San Antonio Brahmas. Number 5, the Birmingham Stallions. Already dropping in the bottom 4. Number 4, the DC Defenders. Number 3, the Arlington Renegades. Number 2, the Michigan Panthers. And number 1, the St. Louis Battlehawks. We do have a UFL game of the week for you. This is involving Alex's team, so if you want to kind of introduce that.
Stallions Panthers
That was
championship
such, like, a
game
bland,
rematch.
That was such a bland, like,
Stallions Panthers. Yep.
there was no passion in that.
I mean, I kind of mentioned that it was going to be one of the
Yeah, you
championship games earlier, and then you said it was my team, so I was like, yeah, it's Stallions Panthers. It's going to be a good game though, hopefully.
So that's the end. Go ahead.
It'll be Friday at 8 p.m.
You should watch, or at least pick one game and watch it this weekend. Nice thing about the UFL is you can always count. There's basically always a Friday, a Saturday, and 2 Sunday games. They're never playing at the same time, so you can watch all 4 if you want, or you can just pick one. They're usually always on at those times. So now that we're done with the UFL, we are going to switch over to the NFL. For those of you who forgot, hello, I am Carson, and I am a Cardsaholic.
I'm Alex, and I'm a Billsaholic.
I'm Ian, and I'm the Bearsaholic.
So we have a lot of news, happening this week in the NFL. So we're just gonna kind of go through it pretty quickly. Starting off, literal hours after last week's episode dropped, I almost thought we had talked about it, but we hadn't. The Giants signed quarterback Russell Wilson to a 1-year, $10.5 million deal. Very strange, confusing.
They're going for the funniest quarterback room, and they're achieving that. That's been like all the buzz with Wilson being signed. Wilson, Winston, and DeVito making the funniest quarterback room of all time. So we've talked about it ourselves. It's funny to see.
Yeah.
Is it effective? Probably not. But I honestly think that Wilson and Neighbors will have a good connection. I think they'll have a
agree.
pretty good connection.
I mean, I'm positive that even when they signed Winston, I can imagine Neighbors was excited about that, knowing that Winston is a very, well, my receiver's down there somewhere kind of quarterback. You know, Neighbors would have loved to get in on that. But I think he and Russell Wilson will actually do pretty well. It's just a little strange, but I think they'll do pretty well.
Another move that's a little bit strange. The Patriots signed Stephon Diggs to a 3-year, $69 million deal. Also, this was also like hours after last week's episode drop. Stephon, I get it. You miss us, but what are you doing? What are you doing? You're just gonna get kicked 2 years. Kicked 2 times a year.
Yeah.
Also, he was trying to say that he was comparing Drake May to Josh Allen, saying that Josh Allen is his guy. Josh Allen is not your guy. You've been like hating on him the past year and a half, and now you're just like, yeah, he's my guy. Get out of here.
I'm pretty sure I remember it was very clear he said he was my guy. Like, I'm pretty sure the was a very, like, important part of what he said.
I don't recall
Either way,
Stephon Diggs like digging on Allen.
I don't think there was any outwards
I
digging.
don't think like he said anything.
I think it was just during the game you could tell he really wanted it.
There was before the game.
Well, I mean that just makes sense.
Well, I mean, yeah, there was all the stuff when he was on the team, but I feel like since he's left, he's been pretty,
That's what I meant.
or at least not towards Josh Allen specifically. He definitely does have. I
Definitely
don't want to
has
just
potential
call him a
for going
diva,
to
but
New
we
England.
have kind of called him a diva, so I'm gonna just call him that.
Yeah.
He's kind of a diva receiver. Speaking of the Bills, they announced they're doing a Hallmark movie, a holiday touchdown, a Bills love story. Couldn't even change the name from the Chiefs one. Couldn't even change it. The Chiefs movie, for the record, was Holiday Touchdown, a Chiefs love story. They could not even change the name. That is
Well, that's just because they knew they made a mistake last year, and now they gotta fix it.
Look, I'm gonna say that was
I
actually a
would
pretty good movie. As someone who shamelessly watches Hallmark Christmas movies all the time, it was actually pretty good. It was kind of funny. Andy Reid was in it for like 2 seconds. Mama Kelsey, she was in it. She played a character. She was fun. I think they did a good job casting. I'm definitely interested to see this one. I hope they don't just copy paste it, but it's also a Hallmark movie, so even if they don't copy paste it, they're still copy pasting. So I guess this is just a thing we're getting every year now. Okay.
One's the Cardinals and Bears love stories.
Dude, we're not going to get a Cardinals love story for like 32 years. We're going to be like the last. We're probably going to get Chiefs love story part 2 before we get Cardinals love story. I'm sure Bears will eventually be on that list cuz they have a pretty big fan base.
maybe. Some coach news. The annual coach group photo we came out, I believe it was today. Some just important notes from that. One, John Harbaugh, the Ravens extended him. That happened before the picture, just kind of coincide. And funnily enough, he was sat next to Pete Carroll in the picture. So if you're talking about beef, who knows what happened with that? And two other coaches that sat
Jim
next to
and
each other.
Jim and John were like on. Pete Carroll was stuck in between them.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Another pair of coaches that sat next to each other was the Arizona Cardinals head coach, Jonathan Gannon, and the Chicago Bears head coach, Ben Johnson. They were sitting next to each other on the end. I think that's only a sign for good fortune for both of those teams. I
I
think they
agree.
personally have a lot to look forward to just because of those coaches sitting next to each other. Jack Gannon was probably making sure Johnson had fire in his gut.
When I saw that picture today, I forgot that Liam Cohen was a coach, and I saw the picture. I was immediately like, Duval.
Duval. Oh, I love him. He's gonna be so great as a head coach. Sorry, calling a bit of an audible because I just got an Instagram notification. Aaron Rodgers has just signed with the Minnesota Vikings.
Yes. Oh, yeah, it's April Fools.
Are you serious?
It's April Fools.
No, because it's April Fools.
Nah.
You're so bad.
For those of
You know what's
you,
funny too? You know what's funny too? I just opened Instagram to check what you were seeing, and I just saw this one of the Aaron Rodgers signing with the Bears, and it was
so
also April Fools. I knew
for
that one.
those of you who are confused, as we're recording this, it is 1:07 in the morning on April 1st. I had to wait until after 1 o'clock, so it was also April Fools for Ian. I was gonna do it towards the beginning of the episode, but I was like, I had to wait for Ian. So Aaron Rodgers
Yeah,
is
you
not
got me
signed
wrong.
anywhere. We will
You got
talk
me
about him in a
wrong.
bit though, but he is not signed anywhere as of right now. Anyways,
Anyway,
Some more
quarterbacks.
news around the NFL, a little rapid fire. Trey Lance has been added to the negotiating list with the CFL. Another Cowboy, Micah Parsons. He has yet to have a contract offer made from Dallas. That's interesting.
we got.
JJ Watt.
So I was just gonna say, my legend, my guy, JJ Watt, is going to be calling games with Ian Eagle on CBS next season. So excited about that. I love JJ Watt. And because I love hating on the 49ers and how screwed they are next season. So they're still in contract negotiations with Brock Purdy. He's gonna get overpaid so much. But apparently, George Kittle's new contract is probably going to command more than $20 million a year to further screw the 49ers. And I am loving it. And also So this is funny well, it's not funny, but as a Cardinals fan and a Michael Vick fan from Virginia Tech, former Arizona Cardinals running back LaShawn Johnson has been charged for a massive dogfighting operation. The FBI seized over 190 pit bulls from him. So, hate to see that from LaShawn Johnson. But that is a thing that happened.
Speaking of Aaron Rodgers, him and DK Metcalf were seen doing a little throwing workout at UCLA over the weekend. It was kind of funny. I believe it was CBS, said that had active video of them doing it, and their caption said they were reportedly doing it. You have video evidence. Why are you saying reportedly? It's obvious. And they had little eye emojis. Come on, guys. As like Carson said, he is a Minnesota Viking. So just let it go. Pittsburgh
Yeah.
fans, just go. Another former NFC North quarterback, Kirk Cousins, also do with the Vikings. He was spotted in Cleveland. He made a little appearance, and the
In a
Browns
Chipotle.
have shown some strong interest in him, which makes sense, in all honesty.
I agree.
Another quarterback, um, about rumors spread about Dak Prescott potentially being traded to the Browns, to Cleveland as well. Cleveland is obviously putting a lot of attention into the quarterback market ahead of this draft. Makes total sense. Who is their current starting quarterback? Do they even have one? Oh, Kenny Pickett.
Kenny
Yeah, the
Pickett.
starting quarterback is currently Kenny Pickett. So it makes sense that they're doing a lot of looking around.
So the rumors were mostly proven false, but you know they're still out there. Figured it's worth mentioning. But guess what? Tyreek Hill has gotten on Twitter again and has been tweeting cryptic messages about possibly being traded again because no one knows what he wants. He's Tyreek Hill.
You know what's funny about this too is that he then, I think as of today, he saw someone post something about him wanting to be traded. And he was like, "I never said that." So
Bro,
no one knows what Tyreek Hill. The No Fun League has banned the nose wipe celebration. It's considered violent.
so violent.
What are we doing?
It's too violent. We can't be doing that, man. We can't be. Ooh, it's like scary.
Something actually interesting with this, the tush push ban, it is gaining a little bit of traction and support, although I don't think it's gaining as much traction and support as advertised. I actually have like a whole list of teams that are like where they're at with stuff. There's actually a surprising amount of teams that don't think it should be banned. In terms of teams that actually do think it should be banned, like confirmed, the Bills, even though we run our own version of it. I think a lot of that's because Sean doesn't want Josh Allen to get hurt. The Cowboys, what a shock. The Cowboys are against the Eagles in infamous play.
What?
The Packers, obviously, they brought it upon us, or brought the ban proposal upon us. The Steelers and the Chiefs are on the fence as well as the Rams. The Rams are an interesting situation. The Steelers and Chiefs are maybes. The Rams, Sean McVay wants it banned, but I guess their GM he does not. He doesn't want it banned, so they have like a whole. They have like their differences about that. But there's 10 teams that are seemingly against their tush push, which is more than enough to reject the notion. However, it's obviously still the votes aren't necessarily in yet. This is just what reporters have gathered from interviewing teams and coaches. The 10 teams that are supposedly saying no are the Ravens, the Browns, the Lions, the Texans, the Colts, the Patriots, the Jets, the Eagles, obviously, the Bucks, and the Titans.
Listen, all I'm gonna say, if you really want to stop the tush push, draft the heaviest player in NFL history, Desmond Watson. I guarantee, if you do that, the tush push will not be an issue.
This is true.
There's some college knowledge for you, NFL. Just try that. I think it'll work.
Speaking of a team that might need college knowledge, the Titans have made their Titans blue their new home uniform. What is the Titans blue? Is that the light blue?
It's the light blue. Yeah,
Yeah,
so they switched it
powder
from the
blue.
dark to the light. The light
like
is
it.
now their official home.
I like the powder
I
a lot
like
more.
that too.
Speaking of uniforms, I don't have this written down, but the NFL has now changed the policy on wearing alternate uniforms, where teams can now wear their alternate uniforms to 4 games during the season, which is pretty cool. So we're probably going to see a lot more throwbacks, more alternates. I am like praying for a Cardinals throwback with the state flag. I want that so bad.
Carson,
Yeah.
what does the state flag look like?
Well, Ian, just going off the top of my head, the Arizona state flag is half blue, half almost a design of like rays of sun in red and yellow, with a nice kind of coppery orange star in the middle. Just kind
Thank
of
you for
describing it without any visual aid.
Of course. Thank you for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, of course. So just go off of what I said because there's no way that you could see the flag, especially if you're listening. I guess you actually can't see it. But also before we get into, well, Alex, you can go ahead and talk about this real quick while I find it.
Christian Benford the Bills signed Christian Benford to a 4-year, $76 million extension. People saying that they don't know who he is. He is a top 10 corner in the league. That's not crazy of me to say. If you know, you know.
No, I know Christian Benford. He's pretty good. I don't know if I'd say top 10, but
People that are he's close. He actually does a really good job locking down. Most of his issues come with his speed usually. If he does get broken, but he is really good. And honestly, I think he could have made the difference in the AFC Championship if he was healthy. But what else? I was gonna say one more thing. If you don't know him, if you're going into that post and saying who, you are in casual of the week.
I see. Okay. Now we had some big news just coming out today. The NFL international global market has expanded. For those who don't know what the international market is, 29 clubs, aka teams, have been granted since 2022 access to 19 different markets or countries around the world to promote their teams and fandom and grow in those areas. Just recently, we had 4 new clubs and 2 more markets added, plus a whole bunch of teams being added to existing markets. And Ian is going to tell us what the market is looking like now.
Sweet. Just to start, it's only 29 teams currently. The 3 teams that are not currently parts of the Global Markets Program, the Cincinnati Bengals, the Tennessee Titans, and Alex's truly, the Buffalo Bills. Now, yours truly, the Chicago Bears. They are part of the Spain and United Kingdom markets. Carson, what markets are the Cardinals a part of?
So the Cardinals have been the primary market in Mexico for a long time. But now, for some reason, the Cardinals have been added to the Canada market with the Detroit Lions, the Minnesota Vikings, and the Seattle Seahawks, who are actually close to Canada, but now Arizona's there too. That felt
Just
really random to me, but I mean, I'll take Canadian Cardinals fans.
I don't know how we're not on the Canada list when most of Toronto is Bills fans, but that's okay.
Just a quick run through breakdown of what the NFL International Global Market is, because it kind of goes under the radar in a lot of cases, I think. Like Carson, this biggest aspect is just building up international NFL community. It's meant to outreach around the globe, introduce the NFL to, parties that maybe aren't familiar with it, and build it up to I believe that the whole purpose of it is to eventually lead to international expansion teams. Roger Gale's already talked about wanting to do that. It's a big part of the international games. A big part of this is a big part about the player pathways program, which is where football players in different areas of the world are able to come in and show out and prepare themselves for the draft and maybe get some eyes on them that weren't on them before. Just a quick rundown of all the markets, like Carson said, flying through from A to Z as quick as possible. Argentina contains the Miami Dolphins. Australia contains the Las Vegas Raiders, Los Angeles Rams, Philadelphia Eagles, and Seattle Seahawks. Austria contains the Detroit Lions, Indianapolis Colts, Kansas City Chiefs, New England Patriots, Seattle Seahawks, and Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Brazil features the Detroit Lions, Miami Dolphins, New England Patriots, and Philadelphia Eagles. Canada, as Carson
Do the
said,
last
Arizona Cardinals,
names.
Detroit Lions. Huh?
You could just do the second half of their names. It's gonna take a very long time if you do the first and
I'm
last for every
flying
single
through it.
team.
I'm flying through it. Like Carson said, Arizona Cardinals, Detroit Lions, Minnesota Vikings, Seattle Seahawks. China contains the Los Angeles Rams. Colombia contains Miami Dolphins. France contains the New Orleans Saints.
That makes
Germany,
sense.
I'm just gonna fly through it. This one has yeah, it does. Germany contains the Falcons, Panthers, Lions, Packers, Colts, Chiefs, Patriots, Giants, Steelers, Seahawks, Buccaneers. Ghana contains the Philadelphia Eagles, which was one of the new market. Greece contains Los Angeles Chargers. Ireland contains the Packers, Jaguars, Chiefs, Jets, and Steelers. Japan contains and only contains the Los Angeles Rams. Now, knows the Los Angeles Rams are actually a part of 3 by themselves and 5 total. Then we have Mexico, the second largest market, which has the Cardinals, Cowboys, Broncos, Texans, Chiefs, Raiders, Rams, Dolphins, Steelers, 49ers. New Zealand also has the Raiders, Rams, Eagles, and Seahawks, just like the Australia market. Nigeria contains only the Browns. South Korea, the third one that only the Rams are a part of. Spain has the Bears, Chiefs, Dolphins. Switzerland has the Lions, Colts, Chiefs, Patriots, Seahawks, Bucks, just like Austria. United Arab Emirates has the Rams, 49ers, and Commanders. The United Kingdom is also is the third largest market with the Ravens, Bears, Packers, Jaguars, Chiefs, Dolphins, Vikings, Jets, and 49ers. My brain was not working half that time, and that's why it sounds very choppy in my speech.
You're
But there we go.
good.
That's all the markets and all their teams.
Also, if you were curious, the other new market is Greece with the Chargers. That is the other new market. One more piece of news that I saw like right before recording. CBS posted this. Ian, it said you liked it, so you've also seen it. The NFL owners are to discuss an 18-game season at the
Yes.
2025 owners meeting. It is suggested that they have an in-season All-Star break similar to the NFL.
NBA.
Yes, similar to the NBA, not the NFL. That would be goofy. Any thoughts on that? I have thoughts,
Well,
but
it was initially proposed, or I wouldn't say proposed, I guess suggested by Joe Burrow. His idea was, just like I said, going to 18 games, still having a first bye week as it is, and then having a All-Star break in the middle, just like the NBA. Me personally, I won't complain about more football. I'll always take more football. I can understand how it can be taxing to the players, but I can also understand how the current bye week system is kind of questionable as it is. With some teams getting theirs week 5 and some other teams getting theirs week what, four is 14 the latest you can have a bye? 14.
Usually 14, but we've seen a team or two with 15. We've seen a couple teams with 15.
So it can, I mean, a big advantage in the NFL is when you're coming off bye, you're expected to be a little bit better, you're more rested.
unless you're the Cardinals.
Or the Bears.
Yeah.
But it really depends. It really comes down to the players at the end of the day. It's up to the players, what they think is best for them, what the athletic staff and the coaches think is best for their players. Because football is a rough sport. It's a physical sport. A lot of players play through a lot of injuries. There's a lot of the micro injuries that happen, sometimes major ones. So I think an All-Star week would actually be a pretty good idea. I think the Pro Bowl is pretty stale. I think it needs a change. I think it needs a better change. And I think an NBA style All-Star week would be much better than what we currently have. So depends.
Something I will say is I know we've talked about it on the podcast before, so I won't get into it in too much detail, but we have talked about the fact that sometimes 18 weeks is too much, not for the reason of like player safety, which is of course important, but also, I mean, teams clinch and week 18, I mean, when you hit week 18, like you have some really good matchups, but you also have a lot of matchups that would be entertaining that just aren't because teams are resting their starters. Like take Chiefs Broncos, for instance. You know that would have been an amazing season closer for both of those teams, regular season closer, but I mean, I'm sure Broncos fans were happy, but let's be real, that was not super fun to watch. And you do run the risk of adding a 19th week or adding a full 18 week season where that's just going to be further prolonged. I don't know. Adding more is risky, but I also like the All-Star week, so maybe I'm more okay with that.
Yeah.
Another thing I will note
I
too.
think it's a good. I don't think one more week's gonna be too big of an issue.
Actually, wait, it would still be 17 with that system, would it not?
The proposal was for an 18 game season.
18 game season. Okay. Never mind then. So yeah,
18
it
game
would be.
season, a bye week, and an All-Star week would be 20 weeks.
That's also a long season. As much as I love football, again,
That's the aspect I'm not going to. One thing I will say that I've kind of recently come to like when comparing the 16 game schedule to the 17 game schedule is I actually kind of like the fact that a team can't finish 8-8. I kind of like that
True.
it's 9 or 8 or 8-8. You know, you have a winning season, you have a losing season. You don't have a neutral season. I don't know. I just kind of like that. I think 8-8 is kind of a stale record. I think having a neutral season is just kind of like, I don't know. I
No,
just
I
personally
agree.
prefer having 9-8, 8-9 record.
With an 18 game season, you would get 9-9 records.
Exactly. And I think 9-9 is actually kind of worse than 8-8, because that's really close to 10. And I think like if a team has 10 wins in a season, that's a good season. Even now, 10-7, that's a good record. But you go to 18 games, now you could be 10-8. That doesn't seem as good of a record. And if you're 9-9, you're one game off 10. I think 10 wins is a good milestone, a good prestigious like mark to hit. And I think if you have, a team to finish 9-9, it kind of takes away from that like, familiarity of 10 wins.
Right.
I agree. I am okay with the All-Star week system though. I do
Really?
like that a lot. So every team would still get a bye, and hopefully those byes would be better placed as well. And then midway through the season, there's the full week that's just the All-Star type week, which would mean you'd also get to see players that are actually good, like playoff teams and Super Bowl quarterbacks and whatnot.
That's my biggest thing with the current Pro Bowl system. Nobody cares. The viewers
Mhm.
don't care. The players don't care. Nobody cares. So if they were to make a new, All-Star Week type deal, maybe they would be able to make it in a way where people actually care about it and players actually want to compete in it.
I would 100% agree. Look, as much
I
as
wonder
I
if they
love
would-
Drake May, the fact that he made the Pro Bowl over as many amazing well, not over. That's the thing. It's not over as many AFC quarterbacks as amazing as the AFC quarterbacks are. It's the fact that none of the good ones cared. So we got Drake May, who's still good, but he's not a top 3 AFC quarterback.
I do wonder if they would get rid of the Pro Bowl if they had the All-Star week. I wonder if they would keep the 2-week break between the conference championships and the Super Bowl.
Probably.
I imagine they
They'd
would.
probably I'm sure they'd find some other way.
I
to
mean,
fill
they
that.
still have the NFL awards, and
Yeah, that's right.
I'm sure they would find some way to keep
Maybe
it.
they even just keep it. Maybe they just keep the Pro Bowl and just kind of rebrand. Maybe they remove everything about the games and just make a flag football game around that time.
It's true. I would be
knows?
totally okay with that. I thought
Me too.
the flag football was entertaining. Like,
I
it
think it's
wasn't
a little bit-
NFL football, but like it was. I mean, it was kind of
I think
funny.
it's a little bit. I think it's a little bit of a joke, but the players have fun, and that's really what matters.
Yeah, it is a joke, but it's fun. It's
Yeah.
it's a celebration of the season. Like, it's not football that the NFL is, but like the players have fun and it's fun to be there. Yeah. So that is the end of our NFL news, which brings this episode of Footballers Anonymous to a close. Friendly reminder to check out the merch store. Ian was just showing off his mug earlier. Definitely make sure to cop. We have 3 spots left on our Footballers Anonymous VIP club where you can be dripped out. Ian is doing a wonderful job modeling for us. You're going to be dripped out and repping the greatest rising podcast in football and the only podcast covering the UFL. Don't look it up, just trust us. Then definitely make sure to rep Footballers Anonymous during the After Hours segment. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight. Footballer Nation, let's ride.